What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Make an Impact podcast with real stories, real people, and real impact. My name is Stephen Turnbull. I'm an entrepreneur, husband, and a father on a mission to empower individuals to share their stories so they can make an impact on you. We have Maier in the house today. She is the founder and CEO of Step Up and Thrive. A great conversation about leadership, about some client stories that she's worked with, and a great conversation of how she got to this area, her story of getting to this area, and involving herself in the business community. You're really going to like this episode. Let's get on to Maier. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Make an Impact podcast. Super excited for today's guest, Maier. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks
you
for
had a long
inviting
day. You just came from the leadership event.
Yes, I actually am fueling and all pumped up because I just attended an amazing leadership event hosted by SUNY Poly, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, that's the event the Chamber puts on. And you said there was 500 women?
500 women in one room. Well, then we cruised around because there were different breakout sessions, but it was totally phenomenal.
That's awesome. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time to be here. So tell us about Maier. We'll start at the beginning and get into, I know I want to get into Step Up and Thrive. There's a few topics I want to talk about. What I love about this is we're now, I told you I'm going to bring Mike up. He hates it. We're now 38 episodes in. And I mean, obviously the conversation is easier, right? When you know the person, or maybe I grew up with the person, whatever. But I feel like I've just started to know you better through our Mohawk Valley Connects group, but don't know you, So I think I'm going to learn with the viewers today. So tell us about you, where you came from, how long you've been doing what you're doing, and we'll get into other stuff.
Sure. And I feel like I've known you, even though we just recently met, 4 months ago when I joined the group.
Yeah.
I became native to the Mohawk Valley back in 2004, so coming on 22 years. Moved here from Russia. I'm originally from there and was really fortunate to land a job right away at Hamilton College. 2 months after I came here, and now my family is here. My husband is originally from this area, so love the people, love the community, and love who I get to work with now.
So 22 years ago, that was when you came to the U.S.?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, that was, the time after, and I think I shared with a couple other people, I grew up in the very turbulent times in Russia when the Soviet Union collapsed. So my teenage years, now that I have my kids and they're teenagers, they were nothing like my kids because I grew up in the period of scarcity and deficit, and everything was very limited.
Sure.
So I was finding myself continuously in this limitation loop. We couldn't afford much. My parents, there were times that we didn't have shampoo in the house. We had to eat potatoes for dinner and for lunch. Several weeks in a row because that's all we could afford because they didn't get paid and there was shortage of food. So because of that actually helped me become very resilient, and it didn't limit my vision, and it didn't limit my capacity and ability to create new results and pave new ways.
Yeah. So I wanted to save the business for later, but I think it'll be a good pivot here. So tell us about Step Up and Thrive and what got you to there, and then I kind of want to go back to what you were just talking about.
That's a great question. Step Up and Thrive, I founded it back in 2021, and prior to that, before COVID, I joined John Maxwell team, Maxwell Leadership, got certified because I found myself at this pivotal stage in my career there where I knew I could do more and be more, yet the opportunities around me were limited, so I just simply started reading books. It just evolved over time, and then I learned that there is a whole team, and when I literally saw the ad that I could get certified, that's just something that put my soul on fire, and I decided to knock on that door, and then the rest is kind of the journey unfolded in miraculous ways after that.
So what does a certification like that look like?
It was, you needed to attend many sessions, and then ironically, when I joined, COVID started, so we were sent via Zoom, and all the certification, I was kind of bummed because it had to take place virtually. I never
Right.
got to meet all the mentors, John Maxwell in person. It happened actually 2 years later that I attended several conferences in a row. But it was a process that you had to attend different training sessions, and then you had to present a speech, because I got certified as a trainer, speaker, and coach. And my original thinking was to bring it to my place of employment and help people around me step up and thrive.
Which was the college at the point?
Yes.
At the time?
Yes. At that time, it was a college, and I've tested programs for a year with different groups with my colleagues. Everybody loved it, so I really saw the proof that the program works and the material is something very valuable and that many people need. However, I realized that the opportunities again were limited,
Sure.
and the career advancement was not the best option.
Yeah.
And so I made a decision to just jump and build my wings on the way down.
Tell us about that decision.
Well, I talked to my husband, of course, considering we have 4 kids, it's not easy to just pivot and create something new when you have bills to pay and certain
Sure.
responsibilities as a parent. And he said, okay, well, if you think you can do it, do it. And so I just jumped. And one of my mentors, his motto is, you just got to jump and build your wings on the way. And I did. I
Yeah.
actually put a sticker on the mirror in one of our bathrooms that said exactly that, as a reminder that it's not just going to be one-time jump, but it's going to be a process. You build your wings as you keep going down or up or whatever that journey might be like.
What do you say to the person that's watching this right now and is like, holy crap, that's me? Like, I've always wanted to ask my boss to have that promotion. I've always wanted to start that business. I've always wanted to go back to school at a later age in life and start a new career, but they haven't because it's scary and the bills and the uncertainty and all that, and they haven't jumped. What do you say to them?
I would just say do it afraid, because the worst thing we can have in life is face regret that we
Do
haven't.
it afraid. Write that down. I like that.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Yeah, you got to just do it.
Yeah.
The rest will come.
Do it afraid. That sounds like a new tattoo or something. I like that. That's good. I love that you said that, because, and I've shared this story before. One of my good friends was working a job and he knew it wasn't like always necessarily going to be his career, but then got a side business that he started enjoying, and we were talking about it, and now he's full-time in that business, working for himself, doing phenomenal, but saying that I've always said to people around this conversation is like, the only time you're going to figure it out is when you have to figure it out.
Yes.
And that
sure.
goes to, and I'm going to steal your do it afraid, because I'm going to add that on there, because if you know you have to pay that bill, you're going to find that one extra client that's going to help you, pay that bill. If you know you have 4 kids to feed and a family you're building and all of these things, you're going to figure it out. And I think that's like when you change your mindset to, and we talk a lot about like the old business plan and how none of it may go to plan, and what's the plan B? Well, if you do it without a plan B, there's the only outcome is success. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. Totally agree with that. And based on the clients I've worked with, sometimes, pretty often actually, it comes to the point that they get so stuck in the analysis paralysis, trying to analyze the situation, looking at the plan, making sure it works, alter it, yet they don't take action. So that analysis paralysis can be very counterproductive, because without action, there's no traction. So you just have to step in that fear, do it, see how it worked, then pivot, adjust the sail, and keep on moving.
Someone say step up and thrive. Someone say, see what I did there? Someone say step up and thrive. I got to grab my phone quick, because I want to tell you, I posted something on Facebook last night, and this has sat with me for a while. And I saw a quote. I'll be honest. I was Instagram scrolling.
Okay.
And I saw this quote come across, and it said, "You worry too much for someone who has figured it out every single time." What does that mean to you when I tell you that?
You worry too much for someone who has figured it out?
Every single time.
Well, because sometimes, to me, it comes as, sometimes people can look at the comparison like, well, he's become successful, but, he's put so much work. It took him, like, for example, I could compare myself to my mentor. It took him 25 years or 30 years now to get to the point where he is, but he put a lot of work in it. So I personally never compare myself against anyone, and it's that comparison gap can be very treacherous and not good, you know, because then you can again like, oh, what can I do to get to that point? And it's just again, analysis paralysis can kick in.
Yeah. It's interesting because I could refer to this as entrepreneurship and business in general, but I think it applies to life as like, it's all just a mental game.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and that quote stuck with me because I started my business in 2 months. It'll be 4 years. And I look back at like the problems that I had today at the office. It like if I had those problems day one, I would have just crashed and burned, right? But those problems that I had day one, I can look at today and be like, oh, that's no problem. We'll do it this. Like it changes. And that quote, that the reason it stuck with me is like, you've always figured it out. So stop worrying about this. This is just going to be another bump. It's going to be another thing that you have to deal with and move on along the way. And I think so much time and energy is consumed to your point exactly, of like, oh, well, what if this happens and what if this happens? And a mentor of mine told me, and I've shared this before on the show multiple times, in these situations, what's the worst possible outcome? What's the best outcome? What's probably going to happen? If everything that could happen is going to be fine, you're going to be fine going forward. Yes.
And to your point, my view on this is it's not what's going on right now, but what kind of person are you becoming? Like, what am I an advancing person? Am I advancing? Am I helping people along the journey? Am I taking them on this advancement? And so it's all about becoming, and our beliefs drive behavior. So when sometimes people have just negative beliefs that are counterproductive and take them 10 steps back, that's when the challenge starts arising. Challenges come up because the belief, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, who do you think I am, imposter syndrome. So that reprogramming and rewriting the story on the old computer sometimes takes a while. It's almost like going to the gym, you know, like you have to, it hurts, then the next day your muscles hurt, you don't like it, but you push yourself. Same here with mindset, it takes time. And you have to intentionally do that muscle work to build it up or rewrite it.
So let's dive deeper into the business. So who do you serve? What does it look like? You know, what's your everyday look like with the business?
Great question. Yeah. So who do I serve? I've been fortunate enough to work with financial advisors, financial planners for the past 4, coming on 5 years. Some have been my long-term clients. Just recently picked a couple new clients. Those they're provided with a framework to do business, but you know, if you know something about financial advising industry, it's kind of like being an entrepreneur. You're a man of your own. You kind of sail your own ship. Yes, you're given some instructions, but there is a lot of uncertainty how to do it, how to make sure what you're doing works. And then sometimes they find themselves not seeing the results in the daybook and the checkbook. And frustration comes in. So that's when we partner, and we, through executive coaching sessions, I help my clients create the results that they really want to see, and therefore changing mindset, beliefs, changing the approach, changing the way they run their business, how they think of the business, how they gain new clients. And other new clients I work with small and starting business owners who just are scared. There are so many directions you can take swimming in this ocean of entrepreneurship, so many voices that can be distracting. So I partner with entrepreneurs to help them chart a course that is applicable to them, that is their course, not just all the noises that come their way. And also youth. I'm passionate as a mom of 4. I've seen the struggles that youth face, and honored to now provide training sessions to educators, early childhood, school age, and also directly with youth.
So during COVID is when you did the certification and started the business, right? So was that 5 years ago?
It was 2020. I joined John Maxwell team.
Yeah. So if we were talking, Maria, in 2020, and I asked you then with what you know now, what maybe you didn't expect with the people that you work for, the outcomes, you know, like what you were kind of walking into during this journey, what would you say?
I would say it's not going to be easy. It wasn't an easy journey. It took a lot of climbing up the hill, a lot of internal work, a lot of just continuously going to the gym in direct terminology. But it was so well worth it. Like if I had stayed where I was, and originally, don't get me wrong, my plan was I'll do both. I'll do my full-time job and I'll do also business on the side. But it was very hard. And I tried it for the first couple months, going to networking events. It's just, you cannot be fully present, especially build the business as a hobby. It's just not how it works.
I know one of my other favorite sayings.
What is it?
You can't chase two rabbits through the woods at the same time.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
You can't.
Absolutely.
I've tried it, Mike. I took 2 rabbits. I went to the woods. I could only catch one. But like that, I mean, that goes back to when you said, no, I have to go all in and do this. And I think that comes down to life in general, business, whatever, of just focus. Like for me, it's like the insurance agency right now, right? And like we have, I'll put myself in the hot seat. We have a few rental properties. I really enjoy real estate. I enjoy investing in real estate. I enjoy managing those properties, all those things. And we've talked about like, hey, we wanted to grow that portfolio, this and that. But right now I have to lock down on the business that I'm focusing on. And this is the one golden nugget, you know? Yeah. I think you can see people that have all these, I'm going to have these 18 businesses that are going to run on themselves. And then they have 18 businesses that don't perform, or half of them close and half of them aren't making money. You know, talk to us about your coaching through that standpoint of the focus, because like you talked a little bit already of the distractions. We talked about comparing someone's end to your start, but talk to us about that focus and some advice around that.
Love it, because I was just thinking of sharing this quote from one of my mentors. Yeah, with great minds think alike.
That's right.
Be laser focused instead of well-rounded. And that's one of my mentors said that, because when you're in many places, you're nowhere. It's almost similar to like multitasking. It's actually a myth that we can multitask, because if we do, it's almost like texting while driving, right? Your focus goes there and you're distracted, and it can cause different problems. So when you become laser focused instead of well-rounded in many places, that's when really it becomes almost like Napoleon Hill calls it all-consuming obsession. You have to focus so much to the extent that it starts consuming your time, your energy, your thinking capacity, and that's when you start attracting. I also believe in the law of attraction. You start attracting the right people into your sphere of influence, into your relationship, into your clients, and it just transpires organically from that.
Man, that's good. My mind, speaking of trying to focus, my mind wants to go in 15 different directions right now because that was really good. What I want to ask you is going back to moving here to the area, and specifically if we can talk about the business side of it. We talked a little bit before we recorded of, how small the pond is and how everybody knows everybody in this area, which is a great thing. But if you're not from the area, if you don't know everybody, it can be an uphill battle to get into the doors, to introduce yourself, to get meeting people. Talk to us about your experience with that.
Here or generally?
Yeah, here in the area.
So definitely, and I come from a big city, so I grew up in a city the size of Rochester, and it was different. But my childhood memories bring me back to going visiting my grandma, who lived in a small suburban countryside village where everybody knew each other. Every house, like you go buy milk from, Grandma Nina, whatever, and it just everybody knew who is who and who does what. So when I moved here, my first shocker was actually, I still remember that. I came in June of 2004, and 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the village of Clinton is quiet. Like you can roll the ball and you'll hear how it goes down on Kellogg Street because there was no traffic. And for me, it was like, my gosh, where are all the people? Like, is everybody sleeping already? Like, isn't their life going on? So the quietness was just shocking.
Sure.
But counterproductively later on, as I went a year later back to Russia to visit my family, I had to bring earplugs because I couldn't sleep with the noise.
Wow.
I got so used to this quiet environment. But when it comes to business realm, I really found that it's a small pond, like we talked earlier. Unless you grew up here and you maybe have uncles, grandfathers, or nieces and cousins, some circle of friends, and maybe even graduating from high school or college, I didn't have any of that. So for me, when I moved, the first 2-3 years was just my network at Hamilton College, building relationship, building connections, making friends, because I had no background here of growing up and attending school or college, and my family was limited to my husband's family.
Sure. Yeah. So on the professional side of that, like what worked for you? Because now you're at every event. I feel like I see you at all these different events. You're involved with this group, that group. You're in our MVC group, all those things. Like, what do you think the recipe was for getting involved in entrenching yourself in the business community?
Great question. You just have to get out of the house, be comfortable of being uncomfortable. The first 6 months, it wasn't comfortable for me because I got used to being in the office. This was my comfort zone. These were the people I worked with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, the students I helped supported and the faculty members. Yet, I wasn't going to chamber events. So the first year, it was like going continuously, even when it wasn't the best timing. Rushing from the kids' soccer game to make it to a coffee hour or like after hour. You just have to intentionally show up, and that's how you build relationship. That's how, like in Maxwell terminology, we say get out of the house. So I just intentionally started getting out of the house. And as I started doing it, organically, my circle started growing.
Talk to me. I'm going to leave this very open-ended on purpose.
Sure. Talk
to me about relationships.
What exactly?
In the business sense, I just think it's such, you have such an interesting perspective because you moved here. Like you say, you didn't know anybody. Like your family and your circle was your husband's family and his circle, and you stepped out to make these relationships and build those connections. But past just showing up, in your mind, what makes a good relationship, and how do you attack that?
Well, the main important factor here is just the common denominator. If you value people in general for who they are, you value the human connection. For me, I value everybody. They don't have to have a certain title. They don't have to be certain age. They don't have. It could be a kid who is 5 years old, and I value him just as much as a 92-year-old lady coming down the street. So that, and that's kind of what we have in Maxwell DNA. And when I heard the saying, I found my people. When I joined the tribe, one of the DNAs there was the culture that we value people. And that's something I did all the time in my past career, growing up in Russia. I was just not aware of it. And until I made that unconscious conscious and realized that's what I really, that's my strength. That's what I love. That's what I bring to life. And I'm a connector. I love to connect people. So that motto, I value people no matter what they are and where they come from, is just.
So where does that come from? You just said, I'm a connector and I love to connect people. Why?
Because I value people. I want to help everybody. I want to help them succeed and create new results. And whether it's find a new solution or make a new decision that maybe they're hesitant to make otherwise. So when you value and you meet people and like them first before they start liking you, actually it's a principle of liking. It's a very powerful relationship building tool that anyone can harness any time, and it's just available for anyone as long as people are willing to take it.
Now, with the on the business side of things, with the entrepreneurs, business leaders that you're working with, that's clients of yours, is there a common denominator that you're seeing? I don't know how to word this, in that they're doing wrong or not doing enough of or lacking when it comes to that topic?
Well, in some cases, it's more like it can be assumption-driven. Sometimes people just assume, and assumption is the worst enemy, that you can create barrier for yourself and just stepping forward. Sometimes it's cultural. Utica, let's face it, Utica is very diverse. I have friends who are from Puerto Rico. I have friends who are from Bosnia. I have friends who are from Belarus, and you name it, Mexico. And we all have different kind of backgrounds, the different programming or cultural differences. But what makes us, again, the common denominator here, if you value everybody around, if you value me as a person, I value you, everything else kind of comes naturally.
Expand on us the assumption. What do you mean by that?
Well, assumptions is it's something that was just actually discussed at the leadership training, one of the sessions, when people unconsciously create this barrier thinking, well, I'm not smart enough. Or like, oh, that person comes across as super knowledgeable. I'm not at that level. And immediately they set the barrier between, because they kind of position themselves farther away instead of just bridging the gap. Hey, let's talk, like open up that door and let's connect and see how we can do something together, how we can create a new product or service or create new opportunity in the community together.
Right. So I think your story is just so remarkable, but specifically what I love about it is how many jumps you've taken, right? I mean, moving here, not knowing anybody but your husband, coming here, 22 years ago, completely different country, all of that, then being in a career, jumping to start your business. How much of your childhood and upbringing that I appreciate you sharing do you think influenced that ability to make those decisions and bet on yourself and shoot for the stars?
Well, I would say, I don't know how to quantify it. Maybe half of this process was based on my childhood experience, but the other half comes from who do you surround yourself matters, and who do you allow to speak life into you matters. In my case, my career would never even, my path would not have taken the direction of moving to the U.S. if it wasn't for my grandmother, who supported my efforts to go to English school and study English at a much higher level. So it started with her support. Then when I started thinking about changing career paths, my mom was the one who supported me and said, go for it. I'll help with kids and everything. Like, you can do it. And that belief, sometimes we have to borrow other people's belief in us and step into that. And then also mentors, like who I allow to speak life into my business, into my mindset, and just people in general. Because you become, like the saying goes, we become the average of 5 people we're surrounded by.
Yeah, I think that's such a expand on that perspective of who you allow to surround yourself with, and who. I'm trying to think of an analogy, but I'm just drawing a blank here. I was going to say who you allow to get on your bus, but that's too corny, I guess. But you get the point. I think some people may not or underestimate the power of you can make that decision. If there's a toxic person in your life situation, you can get out of it if you make the decision, right? Exactly. And it's hard to see on the other side of that fence. There it is. There it is. On that, it's hard to see on the other side of the fence what that might look like if you're in it. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, and I actually heard this based on the trainings I facilitated with whether groups, in corporate environment or working with clients one-on-one, when the conversation comes to the point that there is somebody, let's call a naysayer, who is kind of ruining the whole basket, right? It takes one apple to kind of start affecting all the other apples in the basket. So identifying it and preventing, and maybe finding the courage to have that crucial conversation, an honest, transparent conversation, and identify what's causing it, because we're all causative beings, and usually it's the action and reaction. So identifying what's the root cause and, I wouldn't say negotiating, or mediating the problem and discussing it, whether it's from the communication standpoint. Sometimes I heard in the corporate environments, all of a sudden 2 or 3 people would leave the boat, just exit. And then the leader finds himself or herself like, wow, what's going on? Like, what just happened? And they're totally clueless. Maybe there are communication problems. Maybe people just are not on the same page, So bridging that gap and really stepping into that uncomfortable zone and having that transparent conversation. And again, let's talk, let's discuss what's going on. That could prevent a lot of problems. Really
good. Well, we got to wrap this up for time. I really appreciate you being here. This was incredible. Tell us a little bit more, just Step Up and Thrive, like who can get in touch with you, where can they get in touch with you? The bread and butter of that.
The best way to get in touch with me would be go on the website, Step Up, then letter N and Thrive, or Step Up and Thrive. Both ways will bring you to the same place. I'm also active on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Would love to connect and see how we can support and partner and make something impactful in the community.
Impactful. That's what we're here for.
I love it. Make an impact.
Maria, thanks so much for being here. Everybody, that's another episode of Make Impact Podcast. Until next time, go out there, lead with purpose, and make an impact in someone's life today, even if that's your own. My name's Stephen Turnbull. We'll see you next week. Take care.